Hey everyone, and welcome to another FSElite video interview. My name's Callum and I am joined by Invernyx. And hello to everyone who is watching at FlightSimExpo 2021. Massive shame that not everyone can be there, but hopefully the hybrid event and having some online presence will help with those woes of not being actually at the show. However, I am joined by two people who will be at the show this weekend because we're recording it ahead of time, and that is Colin and Josh. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
How are you both?
Tired, but we're ready for the show finally, so that's a good check mark to have.
Definitely.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, I know you guys are really busy, obviously preparing for the show and stuff, so we're just going to jump into some questions and hopefully talk about things you guys will be showing off at the show and some other cool little bits as well. So let's just take a quick look at, you've got the MD-11, you've got the Smart Cars 3, you've got Jetstream Radio, you've got PACX, you've got plenty of stuff kind of under your hats and stuff at the moment. Any progress reports you can give on those projects and what we might be able to see at Expo this year?
I think we've got something on pretty much all of them this time. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the big one, the MD-11.
Okay. So I know this time at the show, we're going to have some things showing in sim. We've pretty much worked entirely out of the sim so far in a lot of our previews. We've got it in sim now in P3D, not 100%, but we've got the displays in there and some buttons you can click through and the FMC working so you can kind of see it in action. We're also going to be focusing a lot on MSFS at this show at the MD-11 because this will be our first product that supports it natively. So I think we have a little bit of a surprise, but we've made a little more progress into the MSFS world than we had originally anticipated by now. So we'll have some announcements with respect to its release for MSFS.
So are you anticipating like an MSFS release first, or is the P3D still the priority for you guys?
I think right now we're looking at a tandem release.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. But we'll talk a little bit more about the MD-11 in detail in just a second. But as an overview, what about smart cars and Jetstream Radio? What can we expect from those two things as well?
Well, Josh, take the Jetstream Radio question because he just spearheaded a pretty awesome new thing they just did. So I'll let you start there.
Yeah, so with Jetstream, we've had a lot of people in the community get in touch with us and say that they want to hear more rock shows, they want to hear more oldies. We've got some really great DJs that just love that genre. But it doesn't really fit into the top 40s and pop, which has kind of always been the undertone of Jetstream. So we had a little focus group within the team internally, and we decided to have a chat and see what would work. We had community response, we had internal staff response, and we went, why don't we just make the new station? So over the past 6 to 7 weeks or so, we've all been working behind the scenes getting this ready to have two stations as opposed to just the one. So now listeners that come and join us have got the choice of what they want to listen to, whether it be the top 40s and the dance stuff, or if they want to go back to the early classics and classic rock. So it's kind of a little bit of everything for everyone. So we cater to a lot of people's tastes. And that's the one thing that Jetstream has always been, is a really big community presence. And I think this shows that we really care about feedback that we get. And it's not just empty feedback that we listen to, look at and throw it away and never look at it again. It always stays in the back of our minds for something that crops up. How can we implement this? How can we improve the listener experience? And I think there'll be other things coming for Jetstream in the near future. We've got some really awesome new shows coming up that we've got in the works behind the scenes. And I think that eventually Jetstream is going to be a really good community hub. And we're making good progress towards that.
Awesome. And it's still going to be integrated with like your smart car systems and stuff?
Very much so. Very much so.
We actually just updated. We took smart cars out of its long-term hibernation, actually, and updated it just recently to add the ability to play both streams natively.
Amazing. Awesome. And then PACX, is there any kind of future plans for that at the moment?
Yes. Yeah, we actually do have some smart cars news as well as PAX news. So we were talking about smart cars. I'll touch on that real quick, and then I'll get into PAX. The smart cars, we are showing off Smart Cars 3 at this expo, and I would say I think the biggest takeaway for us is going to be, we're going to be talking about this a lot at the show, but I'll talk about it here too for people that can't make it. It's turning into a platform. Smart cars will continue to be the application that people expect it to be as far as tracking their flights, but we are now using our own API to make the functionality that you expect when it's natively installed. And it will be basically 100% expandable by VAs and developers meaning that any experience, any amount of customization, any overly specific VA feature you want is possible now. There will be pretty much, can it do this? The answer will be yes.
Wow. So that's going to be pretty good for the VAs and stuff then.
That's our goal, to make a system that is basically all-encompassing and all-inclusive for VAs. It'll be the first product we have that'll run on anything other than Windows. It'll support PHP VMS 7 and the older PHP VMS. It's going to be basically universal support with 100% expandability, which would hopefully we're trying to turn it into more than just an application, like I said, more into a platform.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. And you're going to be showing this off at Expo, yeah?
Yes, we've got some functionality. Some of it is more conceptual. This Expo for us is very development oriented. Mm-hmm. We've got 3 or 4 pretty significant things that are in the works. None of them are releasing in the next month or so. None of them are releasing in the next month or 2 even. But we've got a lot of awesome stuff we want to show people and hear some feedback on. And now's the perfect time for the feedback because we're still in that active stage. Even PACX too, same deal. We are just getting started on some internal tools that we need to do a bunch of new voice pack recordings. People like PACX, we've heard good feedback, but I think the number one thing that we've heard both complaints and requests for improvement on is the fact that we only have the one voice pack. It may be a good voice pack, but it's only the one, and it only makes sense in certain places. Right. So we're working on a system that's going to allow us to record like 10 or 12 more of them for different languages and different accents and things, a lot easier than we did the first one. And if we get this to work right, that's going to be the next big update to PACX. Is basically the Voices of the World update or whatever we call it. Probably not that, but
amazing. Because I saw. So obviously you released PACX like a little while ago, but then when MSFS came out, I felt like it really took off and became quite its own platform and developed quite a lot of community around that with that platform in mind.
Yes, it did okay before Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I think that it really did take off there. Although it's not just been MSFS, we've seen it growing since. It's been all of them kind of together. But I think MSFS was a great platform and a great user base for it. And we got a lot of great feedback out of it as well. So it has changed as a product in the last year a lot. Wow,
awesome. So I want to go back to the MD11. I imagine kind of a lot of people are going to be asking questions and want to see it at the show. I guess the first question I have really is, why did you decide to go down the MD11 route? Obviously, it's quite a historic. I say historic, but it's not so much an aircraft you see commonly in the skies. Why did you guys decide to go down that route?
Well, the aircraft selection formula for us is a number of components. I think a big factor for us was the fact that it is very similar to the 717. So there was the ability to reduce at least some of the lead time on technology, understanding the technology in the airplane. We got to reuse some assets, not a lot because it is a different plane physically. So we couldn't, the models and stuff aren't reused or anything like that. But some of the code we could at least learn from example. It was also a very popular request, which makes sense given that it is so similar. A lot of our 717 fans and followers were also MD11 fans. And it also isn't on the market. One in this caliber that we're working on wasn't in the market at the time. The only one that I knew of at the beginning of the project was PMDGs, and of course they're keeping that one as a legacy.
Yeah.
So it made sense. We'll be able to do this without really stepping on any of the power players' toes and the people that work side by side us in the industry.
Awesome. And sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's for us. I think it's those 3 things. It's making sure that we're not redoing somebody else's work, that it's got a good demand from the community, and that it makes sense for us technically, and it checked all 3 of those boxes.
And how have you found kind of the development process like so far? Has there been any kind of challenges you faced along the way, or has things been fairly smooth?
Well, it depends. You mean for P3D or MSFS?
Let's go with both, since you're looking to release them in tandem.
So for P3D, we have found that this has been an absolutely almost relaxing development cycle compared to the 717. We front-loaded a ridiculous amount of technology. I'm talking months of technology into basically creating ourselves Legos that we can build this plane with that more or less just plug into each other now. So it was very, very slow. I know we talked about that last year. It was very, very slow in the beginning. There were no screenshots. There was nothing to show. Mm-hmm. And now we're at the point where we're able to just spend more time with airplane logic than we are with code. And things read like they read almost in the FCOM, just it's slightly different code syntax. And that's what we wanted. We understand P3D very, very well. And we're not having a lot of difficulties with that. And it's moving along quickly. MSFS, on the other hand, I think I'm going to go gray by the time I'm 30. We actually had a whole lot more planned for the show, and just technical limitations got in our way. We are internally assembling a list of things that we are going to present that we'd like corrected once we get a little further along. It'll happen, but it's definitely, you can tell that the platform is new and that this is, we're in the first round of airplanes being made to this caliber. It feels that way. And that's created some added stress for us, definitely.
So if you're kind of seeing this slightly more challenging development environment, why are you kind of going down this tandem route? Is this purely from a commercial perspective, or just kind of where you think things will coincide?
Well, I know we've got a ton of followers and fans that are still in P3D, and I think it'd be wrong to leave them completely in the dust. But we also can't not embrace a new platform either. And I think the best experience for everybody, I mean, for us, of course, it makes sense commercially. It's universal support, but it also, as a consumer, I think it'll be awesome if you and your friend have varying opinions on MSFS, but can still fly the MD-11 together. Even if it's not shared cockpit because of limitations, whatever, you can still enjoy the experience together. You're not being pushed into a path one way or another. Whatever your workflow is, we can build something that supports that.
Cool. Yeah, I think the community will definitely appreciate that that tandem release. So in terms of, you talk about some of the similarities you've had with that aircraft and the 717, but how are you guys working to make sure it's going to fly correctly and it's got like a system level of depth that people who've picked up your previous stuff in the past will come to expect? What are you doing to reassure those fans?
Well, I think the easiest way we did that, there's a couple of ways. And of course, I'm not going to answer too much for the flight dynamics. That's Martin, but the same guy who did the absolutely incredible job on the 717 is doing the MD-11. So I can answer more for the systems depth. I know we used the 717 not as a finish line for comparison, but as a starting point. So it has everything that the 717 had to begin with, and then we kept adding. So I know that's one of the ways I know that we're accomplishing that check mark is if you liked that, this will be the 717 plus more. And it's little details we noticed. Again, not having to get so caught up on the how do we make this work. We were able to look at things with a little bit of a bigger picture look. So we've got, I think, a better architecture on a lot of it, and that's what's helping us. We've got a better architecture in the FMC. Having done one before, we knew what limitations we were going to run into. We knew what was going to be impossible because of the way it was built. And we got a chance to say in the beginning, with the knowledge of the rest of the plane, here's how we're going to set this up to make sure that when it's time to do wind entry and wind performance predictions, we can do that. When it's time to do all the potentially failures or systems level faults, we can do that because we built this stack to allow it. We didn't do that in the 717.
Right.
So of course we're still following the manuals. We're still following the information you need to make sure that it's technically correct by that standard. But the 717 was too. What we focused on this time was the architecture of the aircraft itself that allowed us to get past the daily systems operations that we said for the 717. That won't be the case with this one.
Awesome. Cool. So you've mentioned the 717 and so have I quite a few times. I'm sure there are plenty of people asking, will we be seeing that in the Microsoft Flight Sim in the future? Is that a plan for you guys?
I would say in its current iteration, under its current release, likely not, because it just wasn't written for it. Mm-hmm. But it would be an absolute shame to have an entire working airplane that we do nothing with and a new engine. I think it would really shine, especially being the short hauler that it is. It would really shine in the new simulator. So it is something I know we've talked about a V2 or some type of redo that will include the technology from the MD-11 and the architecture and the better platform support that we've developed for it in a kind of rebirth of the 717 in a couple of years. I think that would be more likely.
Cool. Okay. So never say never, but fingers crossed, hopefully.
It would be the MD-11 if we do it, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit more about FlightSimExpo and the event itself. So you guys have, from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got a couple of booths, one dedicated to Jetstream radio. Are you guys going to be there, usual DJing some music and stuff and talking to developers? Is that really the plan for you guys there with that booth?
Yeah, so as always with the shows, it's all about Jetstream, getting with the community, and just showing off what Jetstream Radio can do, and giving the developers a good platform as well, to interact with people that they might not normally interact with. So as far as the show is concerned, we'll definitely be going ahead with in-person interviews as much as possible, and if not, we'll be using recordings that have happened maybe an hour before and playing those on air. So there's going to be regular interviews all the way through the weekend, which is standard, and then all the way through the event. Excuse me. And all the way through the event, we'll have live DJs on air from the beginning of the show right till the very end.
Cool. And you guys have gone to some great lengths, like particularly you, Josh, yourself. You've managed to get yourself out into the US via legal means. So why is it so important that you guys are at the show as developers and as community members to represent kind of your brand? And what would you say to other developers who might be thinking of going to future shows as well?
Yeah, I think the important thing for us is, one, just to show our face in the community so people can know who we are. Because, in the nature of flight simulation, everything is online. Like, our team work all the way around the world. Like, I haven't seen Colin in person for 2 years nearly until I managed to get out here. So it's as important for us as a team to get together and see each other in person as it is for us to show to the community. I think it works both ways, where the people that we work with can come and meet us, see us in person. And we're not just a face on a screen anymore. It's nice to have that in-person interaction, which I think, due to the past 18 months, a lot of people are missing that.
I think it's more important now than ever to, of course, as guided by the law and by safety regulations and all that, it's as important now as it's ever been to try to maintain some sense of presence in the community, not just for business and brand recognition, but for the people. I think it's really important to know that you are a part of something bigger, and to be able to see those faces and engage in that way.
Absolutely. I mean, I know personally it's a massive shame I'm not going to be able to be there this year. Hopefully next year, when things have settled down and restrictions have been eased a bit, hopefully we can all be there and celebrate together. Just on a personal note, what are you guys looking forward to most at the show when you get there at the weekend?
I haven't even gotten that far. I know. The whole thing happens like a shotgun blast for us anyway.
Yeah.
It's pretty much it. I'm going to say nonstop fun. It's funny to say it that way because I think I said the same thing sarcastically before. But it really is. The Saturday and Sunday, I think, are going to be. I want to see what people think when they first get a chance to look at the MD-11 and MSFS. That's really what I'm excited about. That I know everyone is wanting that for us, and I really want to see. I want to see people get excited about it. That, and I think the other thing for me is just meeting up with the rest of the members of the team that I haven't seen in a long time or ever in some cases, and hopefully meeting up with some of the familiar faces. That's the part I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with the same thing. For us, it's about seeing what the community think of what we're doing, because you don't get the same feedback online as you do in person. People are a lot more upfront when you speak to them. Like, you can ask them a question, they give you a direct answer. It's not behind a keyboard.
And you can't ban somebody and
no, you can't answer that.
Not that we do that a lot anyway, but
yeah. And then again, just seeing the rest of the team is going to be great after getting to know everyone for the past couple of years. It'll be nice to see some familiar faces again and say hello.
Yeah. Well, I am super jealous. I hope you guys have an amazing show, and you get to see all those familiar faces and get to see the reaction of people. I think that's one of the coolest things, is you actually get to see people's facial reactions to like announcements or screenshots or whatever else you guys are showing off. So that's always endearing feedback as well. So listen, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is quite a breezy interview, but I know you guys are really busy prepping to be at the show. Obviously, we're going to show this video interview during the show. So if you're watching, hopefully we'll have like screenshots and some other assets to show you guys online of the MD-11 and MSFS, and all the other cool stuff that these guys are showing off, like Smart Cars 3 and so forth. But yeah, Josh, Colin, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the show. I'll speak to you later.
Good pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
No worries. Take care.